Borrowing from larger numbers. You're going to have the chance to subtract some really big numbers in this problem. Out of 6,000 tickets for the football game, they had 874 unsold. How many tickets were sold? We're going to do this as a subtraction problem on the board. They started with 6,000 tickets, and at the end of their sale, they had 874 left. We're going to write this as a subtraction problem, being very careful to line up our columns. If we subtract 874 tickets, we'll find the number that they must have sold in order to have 874 left. When we start our subtraction problem, we'll notice we cannot subtract 4 from 0. There are not enough in the ones column. So we're going to have to start the borrowing process. We move to the tens and find there's nothing to borrow from there. We move to the hundreds column and find there's also nothing there to borrow from. So we have to move clear to the thousands column in order to find thousands to borrow from. There are 6 thousands here, just waiting to be used. We'll borrow 1, leaving 5, and change that to 10 in the hundreds column. Now we can borrow from the hundreds column. We'll borrow 1 from the hundreds column, leaving 9, and move the 1 to the tens column. We'll borrow 110, leaving 9, and we will move that to the ones column, so now we have 10 in the ones column, which will be more than enough to subtract. 10 minus 4 is 6. 9 minus 7 is 2. 9 minus 8 is 1. And remember, there's an invisible placeholder here, so 5 minus 0 is 5. There were 5,126 tickets sold. In order to check our work, we want to add the number of tickets left to the number of tickets sold. That should tell us how many tickets we started out with. To check, we're going to add 4 plus 6 is 10, put down the 0 and carry the 1. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 2 is 10, and we need to carry the 1. 1 plus 8 is 9, plus 1 is 10, and carry the 1. In the thousands column, 1 plus 5 is 6. Sure enough, we must have started out with 6,000 tickets. So we know our answer of 5,126 tickets sold is correct. For our second example, we are going to deduct 4,658 from 7,003. Deduct is a math word that means to take away. So we're going to take away 4,658 from 7,003. When we start our subtraction process, we notice in the ones column that we cannot subtract 8 from 3, so we're going to have to do some borrowing. Looking at the tens column, you also find that there's not enough here to use to borrow. Looking at the hundreds column, there's also not enough here to borrow, so we must move to the thousands column. I have 7 in the thousands column. If I borrow 1, that will leave 6, and I'll move one of those sets of thousands to the hundred column. I'm going to borrow from the hundreds column, leaving 9, and move 1 to the tens column. With 10 tens, I can certainly afford to borrow 1, leaving 9, and move it to the ones column, so that I have 13 ones in the ones column. We have 13 ones now, more than enough to subtract 8. 13 minus 8 is 5. Moving to the tens column, 9 minus 5 is 4. In the hundreds column, 9 minus 6 is 3. And in the thousands column, 6 minus 4 is 2. We have deducted 4,658 from 7,003. If we want to check our work, we'll add the number that was subtracted to the answer. 8 plus 5 is 13. Carry the 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. Plus 4 is 10, so we'll put down the 0 and carry the 1. 1 plus 6 is 7, plus 3 is 10, and we'll carry the 1. And 1 plus 4 plus 2 is 7. When we check, we get 7,003, which was our original number.
We just received this here new Y EDM machine, and this machine weighs 8,800 pounds. But our forklift capacity is only 5,500 pounds. So we're unable to use this forklift to remove this machine from this flatbed truck. So we rented another forklift. The capacity of this forklift is 13,500 pounds. Now this machine on this flatbed weighs 8,800 pounds. How much more could this machine weigh that we could remove with this forklift? Let's do the math. The capacity of the forklift is 13,500 pounds. 13,500 pounds. The EDM machine weighs 8,800 pounds. We want to know how much more can that forklift pick up. So we have to deduct then from that forklift, the capacity of it, 8,800 pounds. Let's do the math. 0 from 0 is 0. Again, 0. We cannot take 8 from 5, so I have to borrow from the thousands column. Makes that a 2. That becomes a 15. Now we can deduct 8 from 15. That leaves 7. We cannot take 8 from 2, so I have to borrow. Makes that a 0. That's 1. And 8 from 12 is 4. So that forklift can carry an additional 4,700 pounds.
Please pause the video now and complete the problems in your workbook. When finished, press play, and we'll continue with the next lesson.